order of business, we're going to discuss the new policy from Director Freiberg. And first of all, we had a quick legal review on that. It's a summary review of it. And Superintendent Almos, would you go ahead and?
Yeah, at the end of the day, that the policy does not meet the letter of the law. So, I mean, there's obviously case law that's out there that shows that this is not in good legal standing. So I think that's a piece that the board would want to consider, that this does not meet the legal requirements. So it would be, I will not recommend to you that you move that policy forward for support, because I just don't think it's going to meet the legal requirement. So.
Thanks for that, Andy.
Yeah.
And I don't think we actually need to spend a whole lot of time on this. I thought the same thing before we got legal review. That was my concern. One, I believe in the Constitution and it allows free speech, so we'll support that all the time. Supreme Court ruling, as our legal said, allows it for in schools. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not a school board decision. We need to allow for this. So the policy as written can't be moved forward, and I wouldn't support it being moved forward. Now, having said that, there are some concerns with things that have gone on that the board should address at some point, either in procedure or policy, such as, I support everyone's First Amendment rights, but they stop when they affect the rights of others, right? So, and that's what the Supreme Court ruling says too, is when it causes a material disruption. Mm-hmm. So the problem that we have to weigh is, you can't say ahead of time, and this is where the policy is wrong, you can't just say it's going to be a disruption, right? Once it causes a disruption, you're like, oh, it's too late. Someone else's rights have already been infringed upon. So my concern is, we don't want things to occur like bullying, right? Because we've had instances of that, and since we've had lockouts at each of these schools, where if a kid doesn't want to go to school because they're worried that they might be singled out for not participating, that's a disruption, right? And that kid has rights too. If something happens on school grounds where there's bullying because of an issue that might be dividing kids, that's not fair to the student either. So we have to protect all students' rights. So I guess what we need to think about moving forward, and not in a policy like this, but just in how do we address those issues moving forward, right? And then we have some concerns, we get calls from parents whose students participate that they wanted to be made aware of ahead of time because they didn't want their student to participate, right? And I think you did a fairly good job of trying to get that message out. But we've learning experience, we always have some ideas on how to handle that. And then I think we continue with safety concerns. What's the responsibility? We had one of the protests started on school grounds. It wasn't supposed to, so how do we handle that after? So there's issues we can learn from with what happened and how we can improve the way we function. But as far as this policy, I don't think it's the appropriate place to do it. And I don't think it's our swim lane to do it. So,
sure. Yep. I would just add to that, I think we have to keep in mind that by and large, we have very compliant children. Like, they tell us when they're going to do this. They talk about with our administrators how they can do it well, how they can do it right, without causing as much disruption as possible. That's unique to us, right? Other school districts, kids gather and they just walk out, right? And so we don't want to try to solve one problem and create others, right? And I think right now, some people don't like that they stand on the sidewalk and protest, but that is their legal right, and they actually do quite well to step through the process. So I think, you don't want to create more problems because you don't like that image, right? Mm-hmm. And I just think that that's really important for the board to remember here too, that they actually do it really well and they have a right to do it. So.
Director Hamlin, you have anything?
Oh, I'm a social worker. I would never want to take anybody's rights away. That's kind of how I live my life. So I wouldn't support moving this policy forward at all.
Okay. Yeah, my own opinion too is when I read it, it's like you're trying to imply intent in advance, and you can't do that. It's not tenable, and I think the whole Tinker versus Des Moines, that had to do with the Vietnam War and the armbands and stuff like that. So students have the right to protest something, whether, in apparel, as long as it's appropriate, meets the standards of the district, so it's not vile or the thing is you could have both sides too. And so I think what's important to ensure that we don't have bullying either way. You know, whether you're protesting in favor or against. That's the most important thing, because you don't want to set up an atmosphere of fear.
Yeah, and I would say it is common sometimes for people to say, you know, my kid was bullied because of their viewpoints. One of the first questions we have is, who did we tell about that? Because we would not tolerate bullying, right? So have we reported that so it can be addressed? We want to make sure, because now you're crossing over into different policies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to be tolerated. So I think that's the line here is, if we're asking that question saying my kid was bullied, what is the next step to make sure that's addressed too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that's going to take in fact, I know that's not going to take a policy change for us to address.
Right.
So,
And that's what I was trying to say. We don't need this policy. We could just,
Correct.
it's a discussion and procedure,
Mhm.
probably at your level,
Yep.
to say, did everything go, like you said, as respectful as we can, as least disruptive as we can?
That's right.
How can we make it better to ensure all students have their rights maintained, right?
Yep.
So that if
Exactly.
you don't want to participate or you do, both sides have their rights, right?
Yep.
So you're not disrupting the learning environment.
Sure.
Kids aren't feeling pressured to behave one way.
Yep.
They're not being pitted against each other in any way.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I agree with that. If we ever err, I'd rather err on the side of free speech,
right.
you know, and then pick up the pieces later
Um,
at that time. But
Mhm.
I think I agree with you, Mike. It was kind of dead, you know, on arrival. It was too pervasive, you could say, too intrusive.
I would like to, at some point, also discuss the safety end of it.
Mhm.
I don't think it's okay for us to say, once they're off school property, it's not us, because they're dropped off in the day or they come to school.
Yeah.
You know, they're under our care. And so now we have, you know, things could happen because they do leave. And I mean, someone could be assaulted.
Yeah.
Someone could get hit by a vehicle. There are things that could happen. So I think we need further serious discussions about how we ensure safety and what our role is in that moving forward.
I think that's well taken. Our law enforcement partners have asked that question too, because
Right.
really it becomes them, right? And they leave. I think the challenge we have is that balance, because if you allow protests on your school property, you have to allow pretty much all protests on school property.
Right.
So where's the line there between things that we may or may not agree with happening on our site that we may have to allow them? If we were to say, let's keep them on school grounds because we can keep them safer, what are we okay with as a district? Because that's an issue we're going to have. Thus, we say you got to go off grounds. So, and law enforcement have asked that question. Like, now what? Now you're kind of making it like the community's issue. Well,
Right.
you know, that's a balance we have, and that's why you heard language in some of those updates to families to say, talk to your kids about this, right? Is this something you believe in, right? I mean, do parents need to come pick the kids up and go do it? I mean, what does this look like? Because they're not going to be as supervised as they are when we have them in our school. So, but again, absolutely, everybody's First Amendment rights apply here. So,
Okay.
Any other discussion?
No.
Well, we'll consider it won't go to the full board. It'll die here at the committee level. Everyone good with that?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see,
get some follow up from 601.
yeah, 601. Sarah sent some notes on that. All it was to,
Oh, yeah.
in 601, we talked about racism, but it wasn't as inclusive as I think it should have been. Because there's more to racism. Because the word has morphed over the years. And, you know, I remember I looked at different definitions, and it seems like every dictionary has a slightly different twist on what that word means. And I think Sarah's definition was very similar, based on race, color, descent, or origin that impairs equal rights, often through policies or individual acts. that's probably a little bit more specific. You'd say granular, in the definition.
Yeah, I wonder if we're trying to define two different things, racism and discrimination. Because if you put discrimination, you can put more people kind of in that bucket, where racism is more based on your race, your ethnic origin, the way I see it.
Sure. Usually, the traditional sense, if you went back and looked at a dictionary in the 70s and 80s, it would say one person feels they're better than another group. So it's a superiority thing.
Yeah, based on
It could be based on anything.
So I think discrimination, because your race isn't your religion, that's different. So if you're trying to capture all of it, then we have to think about it in a different way.
That's why the fair definition was a little bit more, is a discrimination against a person or people based on their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group. The thing is when you have the ethnic group, it captures everything, too.
Your goal is just to make it more all-encompassing, or
Yeah, make it more inclusive, because it's too.
Either one of them accomplishes the goal. I don't think we need to wordsmith it too much.
No, I don't want to wordsmith it too much.
What Sarah says is true. You could add both. You're trying to protect all students again, right?
That's right.
So it applies to all students. So just make it apply to all students. So you could split it. I think we know the intent. So I'd be fine with this one, and I'm fine with the way you say it. I think they both accomplish it. So.
Yeah, my question might be is there a need for a change in the policy, right? I know you've suggested it, but when you implement policy, right, you want policy to be broad enough so you can capture what you're looking for, right? Does this actually make it more focused, or does it make it more broad, right?
Well, I think in this case, Dan created that definition, because when 601 came back out, when the legislature in 23 added more things, they never defined that term, and it's not defined in statute.
Okay.
So Dan created a definition, and at that time I told him it wasn't broad enough. And anyway, so it was just something that I kicked back.
Yeah. But it needs to be in there. You weren't saying
No.
just remove it.
No.
Yeah,
You're
my
saying-
question was, is there a need for a change, or just leave what you have, right? Yeah, I wouldn't remove it.
No, I wouldn't remove it. No. So I'm good with either Sarah's definition or the fair definition. The fair definition is a little bit more succinct, and the fair is the foundation against intolerance and racism. That's that group.
Would it be appropriate to kick these choices to the full board and just see if anyone else has any thoughts about it? I know that the point of that is here, but because it's such a big thing, or just
Good.
What do you think?
It's fine. Yeah, whichever way you want to do it.
I'd probably let's go ahead. Sorry.
I don't think we need to do that. We should be able to just solve it here.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm being too indifferent because I think they're both fine.
Yeah.
So
with the number of topics on the board agendas coming up,
Yeah.
it might be good for us to bring it forward.
Yeah, this is what this committee is for.
Yeah.
To make a recommendation.
So you're both looking at me like you want me to make the choice here
Well, yeah.
between the fair and Sarah. Did you actually have a definition?
Yeah, it's linked here. I put them on the right on the agenda.
Okay.
Too. I think it's what maybe is here. Yeah.
That one.
If you're looking for my opinion, I would say that Sarah's might capture the whole vision of this, especially when it relates to district curriculum and instructional goals and the policy, because you're talking about distinction, exclusion, restriction, or preference, especially as it aligns to curriculum. You're going to want to look at those things when you talk about curriculum, and especially those words.
Okay.
So that'd be just my opinion of the two. You probably could go with either one, though.
John, does that one leave anything out that you have a concern that the group wouldn't be included?
No, it's everything's here: race, color, descent. So descent could be. We could change the word descent to ethnicity.
Yeah.
We'd be okay with that.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
Done. Let's do it.
Okay.
How does that sound? You got that?
Yep, I do.
Okay, well, thanks for your input, Sarah. Okay, that's done. And we're on 616.
Yep.
We're just talking about the insertion.
Yep. I would say that cycle's not ready. I think I showed you that real quickly that last time. That's not ready to put in there, but we will.
Okay.
So happy to link that in there.
We could just use a placeholder. And so Londa, just going back to 601, and on the historical notes for the Rev history, we'll just put better definition or enhanced definition of racism. That would probably be, we're trying to put revision history into the document, so 5 years from now, it's like, what changed? You got some idea. Yep. So 616 is quite not ready. We'll just.
Yeah, I think the policy is good. I think we talked about just linking it in the end in the reference section.
Okay.
So I would say that can come forward and we'll get that link. That's okay with you.
Yep. Perfect. And then, let's see, we're on 701 then.
Yep.
And I only had one minor change. I sent it out to both of you. Andy suggested a little wordsmithing on it, but there was a couple of things that were missed on the MSBA update. I highlighted in yellow. I didn't send you this to you, Londa. I apologize. I got the draft here. There was just two things. One letter in one sentence that was not in here, that was in the MSB model. That was for the updates. But I was going to add a sentence, if you guys are in agreement.
It's up here too.
It's basically, like the board now establishes priorities, in the October timeframe for the administration. I want to hard code that into policy, so it's something that future boards will have to do. It's not just because previously the other boards didn't do that.
And that worked for your team, right?
Yeah, I was okay with the wording except where it says prior to establishing next year's fiscal year's preliminary budget, the board shall review the current fiscal year's budget. Well, in October, we wouldn't be bringing you a fully, we pass it in June. By October, you're not going to have a full revised budget. So you might want to just change that to say that the board will establish budget priorities for the next fiscal year. Because we can give you a projection, but that's not going to be a full budget.
So really what you say, the board shall establish budget priorities for the next fiscal year's budget in collaboration with the superintendent.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, so it's just deleting part of that.
Yeah.
Because as you stated, we don't know exactly where we're landing.
Yeah, you won't have a full revised budget in October to say, hey, here's where we are for this current year, because that usually comes February-ish.
So wordsmith that, strike those words. Are you okay
Yep, that works.
with that? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Because we're doing it anyway. It's just
Yeah.
we want to keep up, make sure that that things that we change as a board there's some continuance. So next boards we never get into that laissez-faire where we're let's not worry about it.
Yeah.
Because we do need to give you direction.
Yeah, do you want it to say shall or may? Because if there was a year where you're like, you can't do it, there's other things going on. I mean, if it's shall, you're going to do it. If it's may, you have the ability not to.
I think shall should be there because that is one of the primary things of a governance board is to establish budget priorities.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Yep.
So like what we did this year.
Yeah, for sure.
And that gives you direction.
Yeah, it does.
So that was the only change I made on 701.
All the rest are MSBA. All the rest.
Yep. All the 701, 702, 703, 706.
Are you good with that change?
Yep, that works.
So we can go ahead and wordsmith that and strike that and
Change that and bring it forward. Yeah.
Easy.
Anything else in the 700 series? I think everything else was pretty good. Nothing in accounting, Mike?
Mm-mm.
Sounds good.
Well, this turned out
It says
pretty
we'll follow the GAS school guidelines, and
well.
that's what
The
they do.
uniform
The uniform unfairs. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
say GAS.
UFairs.
GASB.
It's always nice when they have different accounting standards that say different things. Yeah, no, it looked good.
Looks like GAP, FASB, all the different,
And then they change them all the time.
yes.
No, I think you're fine.
So nothing on the 700, so we're done?
Yep.
Because those are pretty standard policies, pretty short. I guess that's it.
Yep.
That was short-lived.
It was efficient.
All right.
All right, thanks, John.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah, thanks.
So